Hello again, my friends. We are talking detox in the mini series here of detoxification and its awesome impact it has on our bodies. Not only on our bodies, on our emotions, and truly the recovery that all of us need, whether you've been in recovery for any substance abuse or otherwise, but truly just living in our environments today. We are all exposed to things that we are recovering from and trying to filter them out of our bodies in order to filter even what comes in just through our ears. We all know media detoxification has been so important throughout these recent times, and that we are just mindful of how much we take in and consume. And so when I'm talking about detoxification, it's not always just about food and how we can work with foods or herbs or botanicals to detoxify our bodies, but really in what is happening in our modern world. And so for this little portion, I want to talk about detoxification and the powerful impact that it has on our joints. And, our bodies are structured with these bones that are held together with, our joint area. I'm not even going to pretend to think that I can talk anatomy because I can't. However, in my experience with detoxification, I started suffering from arthritis. 39 was when I first started to notice it in my hands. And I was starting to have joint pain in my fingers here. Now, I was a jeweler for 10 years in that I was making jewelry with wire at a gauge like this. And so I was bending wire every day, working with my hands, shaping larger gauge metal into these fabulous forms of my fluidance jewelry that I love so much. And that I knew back then, certain times I would be hammering in my hand. Not a good idea. I literally have something and be tapping. And I thought, and I remembered somebody, in showing the tools that you use and why, and because it limits the wear and tear on your body is why we learn different tools and tricks to do things. It's not necessarily just to be more efficient or to, be more fine-tuned and get that accuracy for what it is that you're working on. But a jeweler to be using their hands and that resistance is really hard on the body. And so at 39, I started to feel arthritis. They call it Arthur. My goodness, I didn't know that it had a name, Arthur. No one wants to hang out with Arthur. That's what you're going to start hearing if you're getting older. And true story, I was so embarrassed because I was 39. I'm like, I'm not even 40 and I'm feeling arthritis. I was also told that I had a little in the lower back starting, and that really scared me. Because that was just around the time I was starting to play on my yoga body trapeze swing and really getting into that. And I want to be able to play on that swing in my 60s. Honestly, I want to be able to do silks and trapeze at 60, truly. And I just really, thought there must be something else that I can do. Well, it wasn't until 5 years later that I was really introduced to detoxification. And that experience showed me how easy it is for us to release that joint pain. My fingers stopped aching. The swelling went down within the first month. And I just looked, they're a little swollen right now. I had pizza yesterday. I just couldn't help myself. Our local Arizmendi had a really yummy flavor. Anyhow, that's what happens to me. I get puffy instantly. And so I have a bit of inflammation right now in my hands. I can see, but they don't hurt. They don't ache. I can have that pizza once in a while now. And if I have a little inflammation for a day or so, I know what to do to help it go away. And I don't have the joint pain anymore. And that's what this is about. It's as simple as going to fruits and vegetables for a few days. If you have a particular diet or if you're diabetic and you can't do as many fruits right now, there's a pathway to get there. There is a healing process that can happen with detoxification. It's really not to say that one would heal you from your diabetes. However, you can choose to take a path to flush out your body, to cleanse your body, to detoxify your body, and then you can decide if you've been healed or not. Because for me, last year, after the 4 months of detoxifying, I thought I'd been healed of a lot of things. There were spider veins starting to diminish, the cysts were starting to diminish, all sorts of things were going away. And then I did get some achy fingers this spring, actually, when I ate too much sugar. That was when it came back, specifically doughs and sugar. And when I say doughs, I mean like heavy breads or pizzas. Sprouted bread doesn't do it to me. I do eat sprouted bread. However, the white flour, carbs, glutinous foods are what trigger my arthritis. I like to say I don't have it anymore in my hands, but I did get achy a couple of times this spring when I consumed too much sugar. And so for you, my friends who do struggle with rheumatoid arthritis and other things, or if you're like me, late 30s, early 40s, and you're starting to feel the arthritis, put the brakes on. We can reverse this really quickly, and it does not have to do with pharmaceuticals. I promise you, this is truly another path. It is preventative health care. When we start to detoxify, it's something we can do every day in little ways. I always like to talk about starting with lemon water in the morning, doing dry brushing, drinking herbal teas throughout the day that don't have natural flavors, and being able to have a little more control on what we do eat. And it may sound like, well, that's not a life worth living, but we get to choose, right? Over here, we have achy joints and pain. And over here, we have less muffins. Which are you going to choose? I hope this helps on your path. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and take care, my friend.